Hi, welcome back to the Jac And Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started with this interview, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews or interviews. So right now, we have a pleasure to have on with us Tisia from Ready to Love DC. Tisia, how are you doing today?
I am doing so well. Thank you so much for having me. Your intro is so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You was on this season of Ready to Love DC. Before we get started, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. About Tisia?
I am a Chicagoan. I am born and raised in Chicago, inner city Chicago, the 773. I always try to make that clear because, it be people from the suburbs claiming my city. So I am from inner city Chicago. I am the one of two. I have an older sister that's 37. What else about me? I'm a tech startup founder, so I worked in education for a very long time. I'm a market researcher by trade. I graduated from DePaul University in Chicago. I got my master's from the University of Texas at Austin. And currently, I would say just my passion child is bringing a tech solution to the daycare world. And so I work with home and center daycare owners, and I'm bringing them a software that will basically take them paperless. So that's really what I'm doing. About me, I'm a Taurus. My birthday is April 20th, so any Tauruses out there. Those are just like the fun facts about me per se.
Growing up in Chicago, how was that? How was your upbringing? You growing up, you say, you're being a middle child.
Well, I'm typically the youngest, but I'm the youngest, but I feel like my mom coddled my sister a little more than I. So even though I'm the youngest, I felt like my mom more so was kind of like, go ahead, girl. If the pot is hot, you'll find out. Versus my sister, she was a lot more nurturing with her. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I have older sibling tendencies. But yeah, my sister definitely got more like coddling and support. I feel like my mom trusted that I would like make good decisions. So I've scared my mom a few times with just like random decisions that I'm making. Like I'm moving to DC, I'm going to move to New York, and I'm going to Ghana. That was my first trip out the country. And so she's just like, okay, I feel like at times she could have been scared, but she never really said anything. So it kind of gave me like this fearless mentality. Cause like if my mama not scared, then why should I be scared? So yeah, I'm actually the youngest of the two.
Okay. So you don't mind trying things. That's what it said. What I'm hearing is that you don't mind being the adventurous one. You have no fear, which most times the youngest don't have any fear. They're the ones that actually go out there and do whatever. Because
I'm a calculated person though, so I'm not reckless. I am very strategic, and I have a tendency to overthink things. So any steps that I make, I definitely have thought it through. So I don't feel like I have like too much fearlessness where I'm just gonna make a decision at the drop of a dime. I definitely have to like think it out first. So it's a little delayed before I jump off the bridge.
Got you. Yeah, I understand that.
That's that. So let's, as we get ready to get into the Ready to Love conversation discussion. How did you get on the show? What made Tisia not have a relationship at the time when Ready to Love came around?
When Ready to Love came around, so first of all, to start, Kyra from the Houston season is one of my good friends. So she's a very close friend of mine. We went to undergrad together. So I was a little bit familiar with it. When the show came around, I was single as a dollar bill. I would say I was out of a relationship for about a year and a half. And I had really done my inner work. And so I kind of was like, maybe God trying to tell me something. Maybe this is it. So, Kyra told me that they were coming to DC. And I was like, girl, I would never do anything like that. And she said it would be a good opportunity. You just never know. And a lot of people ask, I didn't have any inside scoop or inside advantage because I known Kyra. I had to go through the same application process as everybody else. So I didn't have any like advantage in terms of that. But she just let me know that, she thought it would be a good idea and to apply. And so I didn't apply when she told me, and maybe a couple days later, she's like, girl, did you apply? And I was like, yeah. So I actually did end up applying, and they called me 2 hours later.
Wow.
2 hours. And when they called me, it was like, I think it was, her name was Alexis. She's like, hi, this is Alexis from Ready to Love. We loved your package. I was like, I was just playing with you. I wasn't really serious, And so it just took off for there. Next thing I know was another interview, and another interview. So I'm grateful for the experience. But yes, that's initially how I got into Ready to Love, and I was so single when it all started.
So by watching the previous series of the seasons, were you ready for this experience that you were experiencing? Were you like, you know what, if I do get picked, I know how I'm going to respond. I know how I'm going to act. Because you said you calculated. You're a calculated person. So were you already calculating? So when I get on here, this is what I want them to see.
Yes, because I really just was confident in who I was. And to be honest, I haven't always been that way. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, it's my time, because I had done the work. My therapist then got a lot of my money, okay? And I really was just proud of who I was in that moment. So I was confident that even if I couldn't predict or prepare myself for what happened, what was to come, I still had the skills and the resources to tackle whatever was coming. And honestly, there were so many curveballs and crazy things that happened during the season. And I really think that I was pretty prepared to handle those things, because sometimes it made me feel like maybe I'm not attractive. Like, what's going on? Maybe, maybe I am too uptight. Maybe I do ask too many questions, but I was able to navigate that and just say, it's just as much as somebody is saying you're not their type, or maybe it's an issue, there's somebody else that's like, they're looking for somebody like you. And so it was a process, and sometimes it did get me down, but overarching, I think that I did pretty well preparing myself and dealing with the show stuff.
I like that you said, I did my work. I worked on myself, because even outside of a show like this, so many people go from one relationship into the next with baggage and hurt, and they've taken everything that partner said to heart. And like you said, I know who I am. I know what my truth is, and you might not like it, but he might like it. Yeah. So you really have to go into when it's not branded as this, but when it's like a competition, when it's like a contest, you have to be in there and not take it to heart. Like, okay, so he don't like me. I'm not going to go home and lose it.
Yes. And, to your point, and first I want to shout out my castmate, Liva, who's commenting. Hey, Liva. But, to your point, there was a cast member, I will leave him nameless, but he said something to me one time like, yeah, nobody's used to a girl like you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, just curvy like you are. And I had been through a weight loss journey, and just like I had been curvier, I had been very slim at times. I actually have a post on my Instagram that shows like the different sizes that I was, and I was like, this is my happy weight. I'm the happiest I ever been at this weight. And for him to comment on it, it triggered me. I'm like, am I the BBW of the cast? Like, what's happening here? Because it really, this really is my happy weight. I'm the happiest I've ever been. There's times where I've done too much cardio and I lost a little bit more than I wanted to, and I just didn't feel like womanly. And there were times where I felt like a little bit over the curvy line. It's like, okay, girl, you need to shed a couple pounds. But this was actually my happy weight. And so the fact that there were conversations about my size and my curves, those things kind of triggered me. But as I've said before, every morning I get up and go to the gym. And so there are guys that will inbox me and say, please don't lose any weight. Like, you've been working out every day. Like, don't lose your butt now while you in there. And so I'm like, see, there are people that like it, and there are people that's just, so that really showed me perspective in the whole process, because I was a little triggered by that. I was like, wait a minute, are you trying to say I'm fat, I'm overweight, like what's happening? So yeah, to each his own, moral of the story.
Right.
I was going to bring that up because we talked about last season. Tressa was on there, and
yes, I'm the Tressa.
Right, and she was a little plus size, and they kind of made an issue out of it, and it wasn't shown this year in production wise. And you mentioned gave us a little bit of insight that there are women who are ready to love that are plus size.
Yeah,
you don't see that much on TV where there are plus, and there are some men who love plus size women.
Absolutely. And even with thinking about it, like Tressa, but then also like a Vernisha. Me and Vernisha the same. I actually was just hanging out with Vernisha in Houston a couple weekends ago. Lib and I actually went down to Houston for Kyra's 35th birthday party. Right. And I'm like, Vernisha and I the same size. So like, what is the deal with that? So yes, there are plenty of people that like it. And I've actually got a lot of responses for women. Like, how are you so confident? What kind of bras do you wear? You always seem to like wear clothes that compliment you, things like that. So I always say, look, if they ain't talking, something ain't going right. So I've learned to kind of receive even the bad, negative things,
Yeah. When you say somebody made that comment, I'm like, where have they been? Because that's
that's what Black women are like, what's up with you?
Curvy women is what's in. You know what I'm saying? When it's people out there getting butt injections and butt lifts, and I got my own natural. Are you kidding me?
I know.
You want skin and bones? No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah. And too, that's just a typical like media thing in general.
Absolutely.
The fact that Tressa was like the talk of the town. It's so funny. I was in a Facebook group or something, and they had a petition, bring Tressa back. I'm like, wait a minute, she was funny, she sing, but it's like, I feel like even from like those type of dating shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, you don't see us represented in those spaces. And so I feel like it's really a trickle down. Even I'm watching is it Married at First Sight or 90 Day Fiance, or particularly Married at First Sight. I ain't seen a curvy girl yet on that show. And so I can see why a guy would be like, oh yeah, you kind of thicker than usual, because that's what media shows us all the time.
I think my college friends, she had a saying, she would call them, and not in a bad way, like PH. She would call us fats. So you got a small fat, medium fat, and a big fat. And so I would say the closest they got on Married at First Sight, it might have been a small fat.
Right.
It was very small.
Like Paige, I think Paige was the best.
Yeah, I think she probably was the curvy.
Paige probably like a size 8.
I was just about to say,
maybe I'm a 14, okay? Paige probably like a size 8, okay? I mean, I don't know, but that's just to give you the gauge of what
exactly.
Because she definitely, like, if Black people were talking about, they would probably say she's a medium to slim figure. Nobody would even put her in the like plus category, but all those things are relative.
Exactly.
Because when we saw, you could see the confidence that you had every time they showed you on television. You could see that you were who you were, and that confidence ensued and came through the screen. When you first got there to the house, what number did you come in? When you got there, who was already there? And
everybody. So the thing is that when basically they wanted everything to be a surprise. They didn't want anybody to see each other. So the men were in their own meetup section and the women were in a different parking lot meetup section. And so the cars that they film us getting out of would come one by one and pick us up. So they will pick us up, but that person had to film their walk-in, take their pictures. So those headshots that you see of us on Essence and all that, that happened during the walk-in.
Oh,
and
wow.
all of that had to be filmed. The car was coming once every hour or two. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we were sitting in that parking lot for hours. I think I was the second or third to last woman to arrive at the mansion. Yeah.
Did you feel rushed? Do you feel like, okay, I'm gonna be late? These girls are gonna talk to these guys, and I'm feel like, who do I talk to?
No, because again, I'm sitting in the parking lot and I'm seeing the cars pick up all the women, but I don't know what's going on in the house.
Right.
Maybe they was in a holding room and we all was gonna walk in together. I didn't know. So when I got in and saw that everybody was already mingling and booed up already, I was like, ain't this some shit? Like, I'm late to the party. So yes, I definitely did not know that they would start the mingling before everybody was there. So you don't know what you don't know. It was my first experience. So yeah.
Just backtrack a little bit, because they had a pre-show on you, right? And we in the pre-show, you said several things that really caught my attention. Right? Before we get to explain to the viewers who don't know.
Hey, Brittany.
What is medium ugly? See, you hit us with the medium ugly, right? And I was sitting here like, I figured out what it was. But explain to the listener.
Let me tell you, I had exes calling me, yo, you think I'm medium ugly? That's what I'm saying. Dudes that I was talking to in the moment, like, wow, so I'm medium ugly. You know what? Medium ugly is like, you're just between a 6 and an 8 in real life, right? That means you're not a Denzel. You don't have all the abs. You may have a dad bod, but you got good credit. You're nice. You may not even be the cutest in the face. Maybe your teeth aren't that straight, but you're kind of barely making it. You're just a regular old Joe Schmo. And those guys are the ones that know that you are the prize, that you're the pretty one in a relationship. I've dated men that take just as long as you to get ready. They're not the type of guys that I want. Those are not medium ugly. And also, it's just like, they look great on paper. They family oriented. They just not the cutest, not the cutest guys. Those are the guys they're looking like to say, how you get her? Those are the type of guys I like. That way you ain't going nowhere. You ain't leaving me because you're the best thing that ever came. I'm the best thing ever swung your way, okay? So those are the type of guys, but it's not like you are sacrificing anything, because they're kind, they're polite, they trust you, they respect you, they adore you. I always say liking and lust and adoration are two different things. Until you experience a man that adores you, when you're not being a nice person, when you're not looking that cute in the morning, they just want to invest in you and sow into you. Even sociology tells us that men that look better, they do less of that. They don't have to. People in the world, for men and women, that look better compared to society standards have to do less. So when these guys that are shorter, that are not 6 feet, that have the dad bod, that don't have the, abs and things like that, they have to overcompensate in other areas. And it's always beneficial to a pretty woman. It's always a good thing to a pretty woman. And so that's what medium ugly is. Medium ugly is like, you're a great guy, but if I put you in a lineup, I probably wouldn't pick you. And you just are, just an average guy.
What's up?
So I'm gonna say this. So you talk about people compensating, guys overcompensating, and so the overcompensator of the season, Mr. Corey.
I would even say Corey was an overcompensator, because Corey has a great body. He's tall. Corey is not an overcompensator. He could bag a woman on his worst day in some jogging pants and a holy t-shirt, So I think his character just may have been a little extra,
Right.
I don't think he had to overcompensate for much. Just him being his height and his physical build, a dark chocolate man, nice teeth, educated, doing pretty well for himself. I think I even heard him say, I think in the casting thing, he said 6'6".
Right, the 360.
Yeah.
The 360.
6 feet, 6 pack, 6 figures or something like that.
Yeah.
Corey, he's a little over medium ugly for sure.
We can get back to Corey a little bit later, but there was something else that you said in the pre-show, and I wanted to. When I picked it up, I said, you know what? I wonder if this ever happened. Now we all seen The Color Purple, right? You said you want dudes to drink your bath water. Now, have you ever had somebody to drink your bath water?
No, I have not. But I have had the emotional equivalent of drink your dirty bath water. Like, these men were just into me, into me. And even now as I date moving forward, I always say I don't like low budget experiences. Don't get 1 dozen, get 2 dozen. Whatever you thought you was gonna do for me, do double of that. I'm 33 at this point. I didn't been through all the hoopla, all the other extra stuff, and I feel like I've had the emotional equivalent of drink my dirty bath water. Just men that are just like, you the one, not the two, and they show me in every way that I'm somebody that they want to pursue. So it's a little rare these days, but I've had that now, so I kind of feel like it's a little high bar these days.
Right. I don't want nothing less than that now.
Nothing less. And it's not I'm not unrealistic. Like, I'm just looking for this Prince Charm to come sweep me off of my feet. But there are a lot of things that I value that I'm not willing to budge on.
Right. You gotta have value. You gotta have a standard.
Yeah.
You gotta have a standard. So let's get back to the house. You're in the house, you get out of the vehicle, you there. Who's the first person that catches your eye when you get there and you walk through the house? And when you're looking at the men, who's the first person you say, you know what, I want to talk to them?
I would probably say Walter. Walter was the first guy that I saw that I was kind of like, okay. Yeah, but Walter was sold up. A couple of girls already had their claws, dug into Walter. But I would say Walter was probably the first guy that I was like, okay, they got my type kind of in here. Carrington is also, I would say, physically my type, but I had already had a brief chat with Carrington before that, and I kind of figured that it wouldn't be the exact match I was looking for. Yeah.
Other than the chat that we saw on television. The chat we saw on television was the one that he thought you was asking him the same question 15 different ways about him and his love life and the type of women that he dates.
Well, actually, prior to that, I recognized Carrington from the nightlife of a place that I used to work 5 minutes from. So I used to go in there for happy hour a lot. And so I asked Carrington, like, don't I know you from? And he was like, oh, I see what you're doing here. And I'm just like, did you used to work there or not? Am I, what? I don't get it. Like, maybe you didn't want people to know that you worked there or something. I don't know. That was a little weird. But I did kind of have a conversation with him, and that I think that has been mostly my feedback, that I have been grilling people and asking a lot of questions. But I think that conversation with Carrington was telling, because I didn't get anywhere close to an answer. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, maybe that's just not something that he wants to really talk about or portray. But yeah, that conversation with Carrington kind of let me know that we maybe have been on different pages.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask too. We've seen on previous seasons when people get along with the other participants, it's like, oh, I know you. So you recognize Carrington. Was it anybody else in the room that you were like, oh, I've seen him before?
I didn't know a soul. And I actually only recognized Carrington. I hadn't had any interactions with him or conversations or anything prior to that, but I did recognize him from like the nightlife. Yeah.
So you and Walter had, had some discussion on TV. Did you and Walter ever go on a date?
We did go out on a date, and I had requested a date with Walter a few times. And the time that I actually went out on a date with him, it was actually at a moment where I felt like he'd friend zoned me. So I was just like, why? The date was late. The date was late. When I actually got my date with Walter, I felt friend zoned. So it was just a little bit too late. Yeah. So it was a weird scenario. I had kind of kept requesting a date with Walter, but when I got the date with Walter, I had already closed that chapter, and I had kind of felt friend zoned by him. But yeah, I would say we definitely had a connection, because you do get the opportunity to talk to them offline and things like that. I'm not really sure if I was in line with what he was looking for, but I definitely when I got on a date with him, I had already felt friend zone, so it was kind of purposeless.
Do you feel like a lot of guys friend zoned you? Did you feel like that you was the homie?
I was not the homie. Anybody looking at me would know I'm not the homie.
I definitely, we know that. We definitely know that.
I just had to say that. That's a little Kanye coming out, but they knew I wasn't the homie. But I just feel like I think they knew I would have taken a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Right.
That and in no disrespect, there were lower hanging fruit. Like just easier connections, women that were more in line with what they wanted, women that would do maybe would show a little bit more effort for them versus me being more traditional. I wanted to be pursued. And so I think that there were women that were lower hanging that would definitely be more in line with what they would want, and how they felt like a relationship should play out. So yeah, I don't think I was friend zoned, but I kind of definitely felt like, well, why do all this with her when I could make it to the end of the show with somebody that's just easier to get along with. I think I can be a little bit uptight. So granted that you only have 10 weeks in a short period of time, they probably like, girl, you a little too much work for me. I'm on to the next one. So I think that's more reflective of what it actually was.
That they wasn't really they wasn't willing to put in the work for you, because you said you traditionally that you want to be pursued. What does pursuing Tisia look like?
I really am big on feeling seen, knowing me, getting to know me and who I genuinely am. And so you can ask any man on the show, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you what I do for a living and my business, who I am. And so those type of things really matter to me. If I say I'm selling hot dogs on the corner tomorrow, I need you to be like, okay, baby, we doing Vienna, we doing, pork, turkey, sausage. What kind of hot dog we selling? Mustard, ketchup, or relish? And I just really like somebody who is like, they make the investment in me. And so I think that was more so what I mean about being pursued, because if I'm laying up with you and you genuinely just don't quite grasp what I do for a living, how can you advocate for me and support me and create a safe environment when you don't know what I'm passionate about and what I like? You don't know what makes me tick. You don't know, you don't know if you could be sitting next to $1 million investor and you don't know you can't bring me up in a room that I'm not in if you don't know what I do. And so I pay very close attention to stuff like that. When I ask you about my business, you start stuttering and mumbling and bumbling. I'm like, yeah, no, that's just not going to work. And so it's not one person asked me, well, do you think your business is hard to explain or understand? I'm like, no. It's not that hard to, understand. So those are just a few things that I mean in terms of like being pursued. I also think that when a man is really into you, you're going to feel that man on you. It's like, what you eat today? Where you going? What you doing? And not in a stalkerish kind of way, but they just really want to know what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what makes you, sad or angry. And I think that you could feel a presence of someone that's interested in you. And I don't think I quite felt that throughout the show.
Were you getting many phone calls outside of production? Were they giving you the phone call, the attention, the time that you thought you need?
Phone was dried in the Sahara Desert, okay?
Oh, Lord.
Dry. My phone was dry. And I think in one of the deliberations, one of the girls said, and we fell asleep on the phone together after a 3-hour FaceTime. And I was looking like, I'm not getting any of that. Any of that. But I am a very firm believer in let people do what they rather do so you can really see what they want to do. I'm not somebody that's going to convince you to like me, to give you a pep talk about what I need and what I want and how to get the furthest with me. I want to see what you're going to do baseline first, So if you're not calling or trying to get to know me or talking to me, then that's not what your attention is. So I think that if I would have played the game just a little bit harder, y'all would have seen a little bit more of me on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I wonder how much of that was because we know from talking to people on other seasons, the process is, it was a lot of going to people and say, who's your number one? Who's your number two? Who's your number three? And so based on what they said, it's like, that's the focus that we got. And that's where they kind of directed them. You know what I mean? So, of course, sometimes when participants, they kind of usurped that, it kind of went around, it was like, I said these were my number 1, 2, 3, but I used to talk to so-and-so. I wanted to talk to so-and-so, but they were kind of like directed in a certain area,
Yeah, and too, I think what viewers don't really see is that there's also, outside of who's your number 1 or 2 or 3, it's also like a likely department where it's like, who's most likely for me to be attracted to and keep, right? Because if you have somebody that, for instance, Sydney, beautiful girl, and probably had a few eyes on her, when she first came in, right? She's absolutely gorgeous. And then you have a guy who may not have had the best connection with her or other girls, but it's like, you probably may not have a shot at Sydney. You see what I'm saying? Or if it's like a person like Shiloh, who had made a couple of connections. If you a guy who kind of really don't have a connection, you probably not going to try to connect with Shiloh because you got better chances with somebody else. So it's also like this inner game that's happening with it as well. You have to kind of, who am I more likely to connect with and it to last? It's kind of like people are waging, their chances also. So you don't really see that a lot, but that's what's kind of happening in everyone's mind and behind the scenes.
We get to the first day. Tommy tells you that people are going home, and so the women are up first to go home, from what we saw, and you're in the bottom. You can just see your whole facial expression just totally change. Like, hold up. I thought, how do y'all put me in the bottom? And then you goes, I thought I had some connections. What connections did you think you had, so you didn't end up in the bottom on the first day?
You could have asked me, bet your last dollar in your bank account, checking in savings. If you think you're going to be in the bottom, I would have bet you all of my money. I was shooketh, okay? I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute. I'm in the bottom. I just really felt like I would say the least connection that I had would have been probably maybe Lamont. Who else? That would be Lamont. Would just be the only person that I would say absolutely no. Not absolutely no with him, but like if anybody was to put me in the bottom, I would say Lamont maybe had put me in the bottom. Everybody else, I felt as if I had talked to them as equally as any other woman. So I was really, kind of surprised. I had exchanged numbers with a few people. I had gotten to know everybody, and pending that I knew at that moment when all the women had been picked up from the parking lot, and I was kind of the last of the Mohicans left there. I knew that when I got in, it was game time. Even the producers let us know that when you walk into that mansion, you need to work the room. So I felt like I was working. I was working it. I guess I wasn't, but I guess I felt like I was working it, worked the room, and really got to know people. And I was just very surprised. I definitely talked to Walter. Corey and I had a short, brief conversation. Dante and I had a conversation. Phil and I, we had a conversation. It wasn't anything too intimate, but I felt as if I had a fair shot with everybody. And so I'm also like a very streamlined thinker. I also did the math on it. I said, so out of 10 women, I'm either the 10th or the 9th girl in this room. In the bottom 2. I was shocked. I genuinely, really couldn't believe it. And so the guys, as y'all saw in the brunch episode the next day, they said, oh, we just didn't have a chance to talk to you. So I don't know. That was whack.
Yeah. I like that you did that too. It's like, okay, look, who did it? Who said it? Who shot John?
Because y'all was capping last night, and now I'm gonna ask y'all straight up.
Exactly.
And you wanna know what all them said? It wasn't me. I don't know. I just felt like, you know, I didn't really get a chance to get to know you, but don't trip. You still in the game. Nah, who put me in the bottom?
Some of that Chicago came out. Like,
who put me in the bottom? Yeah, so that was interesting.
But you can see that, you know, with that, your game stepped up a little bit more with talking to some of the gentlemen and with the guys that was there. We saw you, out on a date with Phil when Phil came in. You know, when you interacted with Phil. How did you think that you and Phil progressed throughout the show?
You know, I didn't know that. The production world and all of that stuff is very different. And I was a little naive. I didn't know that if it ain't on screen, they can't tell the story.
Right.
I didn't know that. I'm like, I talk to Phil every day. What you talking about? I'm talking to Dante and Cornelius every day. What you talking about? But it's just like, we can't tell the audience you talking to Dante on the phone. The audience needs to be able to see that you all are making a connection. And I think it showed a lot about how I genuinely date. I can do PDA, but I'm really not a publicly open person with who I'm attracted to, who I like, and the guy that I'm dating. I could be with my man for 5 years. He could be all over my Instagram. You're rarely going to see me kissing him in public or in his lap or sitting down or things like that. So I think that I should have definitely played more of that, those scenes like on camera. That way they would have had a little bit more substance, because I took more of the approach like, okay, yeah, but he gonna call me tonight, so I don't care what he doing with this person and that person. He gonna call me tonight, you know. But I think that they couldn't tell my story because it wasn't happening on screen, and I just think I'm very timid about stuff like that, you know. I don't like people all in my business and knowing, oh yeah, did you see Phil and Tisia? You know, I'm just kind of the opposite. So yeah, I probably should have been a little bit more touchy-feely and just, you know, more out there with my connection. So that worked against me for sure.
Yeah, we definitely got that sense. So when you went on the 3-2 date.
Oh yes. And they were like, where's the freakiest place you ever had? Don't nobody to know that but me and the man that was doing it. Okay?
Exactly.
Right.
I'm not
I ain't about to have you on national TV talking about what I was doing. You know, I'm just not into that. I'm not into that. So
yeah. It looked like you was a little uncomfortable when that conversation, like, you know what?
Yeah.
I was.
It wasn't even so much uncomfortable, like this not what I do. It was just uncomfortable, like I ain't telling you though.
Right. I ain't no nun or nothing. I'm far from a nun, okay? But you don't need to know what I'm doing. Only me and whoever was there.
Yeah. Well, you wait and find out.
You wait and find out. Were you feeling on that 3-2 date? Were you feeling Naeem, Dante, or any of the guys on that date, or you just on that date? Because it was.
I did not have a connection with Nye. Dante and I were connecting a little bit, but who else was there? Dante and I. And
those were the only two guys, right? And then it was you.
Yeah, the only two guys.
Then it was you, Shiloh, and Zadia.
You, Shiloh, and Zadia.
Yes. So, yeah, Dante and I were still talking on the phone. I wouldn't say it was anything. I didn't get the signal from him, but we definitely had a lot of conversations. But I wouldn't say I got the signal that he was interested per se. And I think Nye was genuine, like he was just out. I didn't feel anything there. So,
gotcha. And you know, we knew that you was having conversations with other guys because it was the deliberation when Cornelius name came up, and you were like, oh yeah, I'm feeling Cornelius and talking to Cornelius as well. And we saw a look, a facial expression. Like, hold up, you talking to him too? So were you and Cornelius doing a lot of phone conversations or talking off camera?
We were. And I think I wanted to hear a little bit more from him, but we definitely were chatting. When I would call, he would answer. If he would call, I would answer. And we had a couple things in common, meaning that he is very religious, and so I have a very Christian background also. And Cornelius, I think, from Memphis, so he like a little, meat on the bones. So
right.
I was up his alley in that regard also. So yeah, Cornelius definitely can appreciate a curvy woman. So as you saw with his lasting connection with Camille, she's a curvy girl also. So I definitely thought that I would have been in his line of fire per se if that would have materialized.
At that deliberation, you said he was at your top. Who else was up there with him?
Walter and Phil were at the top for a while. Walter and Phil. I liked Frank too, and Frank has this kind of cocky thing to him that I actually enjoy, and Frank's he's a man's man, and I definitely I think it's like it's Chicago. I mean, I like a little grit around, a little rough around.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I need a little grit on you. And Frank definitely is a man's man, and he's a little cocky. So I definitely was attracted to that. And
you sure it wasn't a way that he was shaking that drink for you? Because he was.
We thought that was the
Twitter ate that up. But what was interesting is that people were like, all you do is talk about work while Frank was at work. Frank was doing his job, what he does for a living, and I was talking about my job, and all people said was, all I do is talk about work. And so that just showed you the dynamic that like women have to be like fragile and soft. And this man is at work trying to bring me into his world, and I'm telling people what I do for work, but I was talking about work too much. That was a very interesting dynamic. It's kind of like that old traditional thing that like women are to be, seen, not heard type of thing. I'm just like, this man is at work and I can't talk about what I do for work. So that was interesting.
But he was the one in his vignette was the one that brought it up. And so in his vignette, he was the one to say, it seems as if she always talking about business. I'm trying to get to know Tisia. And I don't know if that was planned or he said, but he was the one who brought it up about you always talking about business.
Yeah, and you know what? When we had a conversation about it, actually on the show, and it was filmed but not shown, Frank said, why didn't I know you're from Chicago? This is what I'm talking about. I didn't even know you're from Chicago. And I said, you had to be a blind man out of hell to not know I was from Chicago. Everybody here knows that. How didn't you know? Because you're not listening. You're tuning out to, and a few women mentioned that kind of like, his eyes, it's just like he just gazes out, he's not even there when you're talking to him. And so I think a part of it was that I wasn't as open with my past and childhood and life. But another part of it is that the little things that I did say, it was going over your head. So
and that's what I was gonna say, for somebody to say I talk about work too much, but this is the thing I'm passionate about. I'm letting you see me when I'm talking about my work. It's not like just how it's not braggadocious at all, but this is how you get to know me. And so when you want to know those other things, like you said, I talked about Chicago. Were you listening?
But
you heard me talking about work. It's like you picking and choosing what you want to hear. And I'm all of this. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a Chicagoan. I'm a curvy woman, like all of that. And that goes back to what you're talking about pursuing. Find out about me. What do you want to know about me? Or even if it's not anything I ask, because a man that's really paying attention, you might not ask me a question. I drop these little jewels, and next thing you know, he be like, "Oh, I picked so and so up for you." You be like, "I didn't even know you was listening when I said that." Oh, I pay attention to everything,
Better watch you some Harold's chicken or something.
Extra mild sauce, okay? The bread with it. Yes, I think that's exactly it. You have to be, paying attention. And in one of my last interviews with Kojo in Little Black Book, he said that I'm skipping over the dance. That I had the way that I approached men was kind of like, let's just skip to the good part. But he felt like, dance with him a little bit, talk to him, get to know. And I'm just like, okay, but there are fundamental questions that I need to know to let you know if I want to take an Uber with you after this dance, if I want to, meet you up the next day. Like, I need to know certain things before moving forward. So I'm not trying to skip the dance, but I'm trying to check out your moves to know if I want to dance with you again, So those type of things are really important to me.
I mean, it seems to me like as if you want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time. And that you're not wasting my time, because I think sometimes in the business, even in professional, in the business world, we look at you look at spreadsheets, look at it, you want to go straight to the bottom line, right? And you go back and look at all the numbers in the middle and see how you got there. And I think with you, sometimes it seems as if I need to know, how do you fit into my life? How do you fit into my world? How do you fit into this thing that my business? Because this, again, I'm passionate about this. Can you listen to me when I come home and have a long day about business? Can you matter of fact, and not just hear me, but I mean actually listen to me, not try to fix it, not try to solve it, but can you hear what Tisia is saying?
And you know what? Why that's so important to me? Because in my traditional ways, I genuinely feel like a man that you are with should always set you up for your next move. He should always put you in a better position. It should always be better with him than it was before you met that man. So that's also why it's also very important that you know my business, because that is a part of me. And I just genuinely feel that the man is the head of household and he's the leader. And no matter, it's not that he's more important than me, but you should be trying to set me up for the next dunk, So I feel like at times you can't speak giraffe to a turtle, because if that was overwhelming for you, baby, you ain't gonna be able to handle nothing else I got coming down the pipeline. If that was so overwhelming that all I do is talk about work, to me, the man for me gonna be like, oh, really? What you say? Well, what's your strategy? What's your next plan? Let me see your pitch deck. That's the date I was trying to go on. You trying to look, we reviewing my pitch deck and you give me your feedback on that, So I just think we just wasn't in the same line. And, some women will really doubt themselves. Like, maybe I do need to be more delicate. Maybe I do need to, not know. I've been there, done that. And I feel like it's a lid for every pot. Some man's gonna be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. He gonna be just as busy as me, and he gonna respect my opinion when I'm giving him feedback about his business. And so it just the pot wasn't there.
Definitely that. I think you said some good points that was there. We gotta, in relationships, we gotta be able not to complete each other. We gotta be able to complement each other. Yes. I think a lot of people don't want to complete each other, but now we gotta be able to complement each other. And you, again, a true ride or die. Whether it's right, wrong, okay, you need to fix this, you need to take that, and take that criticism and take that love at the same time and then to make it better for what it is in a relationship.
And I ask even my friends at times. I have girlfriends that are dating men. I'm like, how you struggling and you got a man? It don't make no sense. How you struggling and you got a man? I don't understand this. If I put trash bags across a football field and I go get in a relationship with you, it should take me half the time to pick up them trash bags across the football field now that I got you on my team. Everything should be easier, faster, quicker, better now that I have you on the team. How you struggling? You got a grown man in your life. That's just crazy to me. And it's not that I'm looking for you to pay all my bills, give me everything, but insight, advice, guidance, direction, support. All of those things are important. It should be some type of lift off of my shoulders now that I have another brain, another set of eyes, and another set of hands in my life.
Absolutely.
So that's just my take on it. I ain't gonna be struggling with a grown man next to me.
No.
I think with that, because like the business world, if we're gonna merge together, then we need to create a plan together. Because you had your plan individually, I had my plan individually. How do we come together and make this company or this corporation, as we get together, work?
Neo said it. I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we
together. Exactly.
That we should be a force. We should be a force. So I was interested. So that was Frank. I was really interested to see where it would go with Sean.
I knew that was coming. I was waiting for the to come out. I was talking about Sean. Sean and I did have a few things in common. Sean is a great guy. His time was a little shorter than mine, but one of the biggest things about Sean was that his stance on children was, if I do, great. If I don't, I'm okay. And I'm not okay if I don't.
Right.
I would be searching my whole life for that feeling if I never became a mom. And so my opinion is that I'm not voluntarily signing up for an uphill battle or a potential struggle. Some things you just can't avoid. I have friends that get into a marriage and they like, girl, he asking, can we pay his mother mortgage? You didn't know that he wanted to potentially help his mom before you marry him. Y'all didn't have those type of conversations. Y'all didn't talk about savings and finances. So it's like you just jumped you in something that you didn't cover your bases. So to me, I'm not going to wait till I'm 3 years into the marriage and figure out that actually that if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. It's actually, nah, I really don't. So those type of, it's only a few things that I take to the extreme. And I don't think Sean knew it at the moment, but that was one of them. So I just kind of blacked out. As soon as he said that, like, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I need my husband to be like, yes, I want children.
Right, because it's like you said, it's an uphill battle. Me trying to convince you. I mean, we've seen, without calling a name, there's a famous person on a show with women.
I call her name Jeannie Mai.
Yeah, we saw it with Jeannie Mai. Her and her husband, it was, I don't want to have kids. And that was a bone of contention. He's stuck in there. You don't want to be that, I'm going to try to convince you every year you want to have kids. And meanwhile, time is slipping away. Why am I doing that? Instead, I want us to be on the same page up front and roll with it that way.
And it's the same page. And I feel like you can have things that I want and you want, or things that you don't want and I don't want. And they may not necessarily align, but we can still be on the same page. The kid thing, I feel like we're in a different book at this point.
Right.
That holds a lot of weight for me. I'm the type of person where I would, I've even considered freezing my eggs. I'm 33. I'm like, I could freeze my eggs. I'm into adoption. I'm going to have a kid. Okay. So that was really just a red flag. And it wasn't, I think also if Sean had been a similar age as me and he said something like that, I may have been like, oh, okay, maybe he just haven't found the one. Maybe I could change. Maybe I've been a little bit more open to it. But depending that he was over 40, I was like, your mind already made up, So I definitely that was kind of a big thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, because I was like, okay, if these two stay here, they might actually have something. Y'all had the church thing going, you had all the other stuff that was going. But again, I can understand why the kid thing was having a child was a big issue for you.
And just in general too, his responses about, how do you know that you found the one? Are you ready for a relationship? It wasn't solid. It wasn't a solid answer. So I wasn't quite sure if he was really ready. Yeah.
One thing else I did notice on the show, while you were there, it seemed like you were the one, either you was in the bottom or you were the one sending somebody home.
Wasn't that crazy?
Right. I was sitting here looking like, okay, either Tisia's getting ready to be in the bottom and go home, or it's like they sending you to be the assassin to send people home.
I know. And really, I kind of was like, let me be kind in this. And even afterwards, the production was like, that was really good, because I think I had great send home or you're in the bottom moments. And really, I wanted to be mindful because I knew my day was coming. Like, I felt it coming on me. So I'm not going to come in here and just brutally, attack you knowing it could be me tomorrow type of thing. But I knew my day was coming. So I definitely was mindful of just, telling them truthfully what the women said, but also kind of just being gentle, with everybody, because this is, even though this is a show, people have to live with all this stuff afterwards, and you can take back what you said, but you can't change how you made someone feel. So I was very cognizant of like not making them feel like they weren't worthy of love, or, even not ready for love. It's just like maybe that person just wasn't here. So
were you voluntold, or were you selected for that, or did you volunteer for that? to be the one that's
selected. They tell you, well, you're going to do it.
okay. Just
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure on that one.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about Phil earlier. You got to Phil, and it was Phil, you, and Shiloh, the date where y'all met the friends.
Mhm.
You know, did you know that somebody else was coming?
I did not. I did not know that someone else was coming. And I think that was a part of um, why I was annoyed. I didn't like the setup of the table. That really
Yeah,
bothered me. And I think it's that in itself is also a genuine part of my childhood. And long story short, you know, my mom was very ill growing up.
hmm
And I had to pick up my own report cards. I had to do a lot, go to the grocery store by myself because my mom was somewhat bedridden for a lot of my life. And it really taught me to advocate for myself. So you're not going to get no head start on me. I was pissed. I was like, so I walked into it, Shiloh already there. And
right.
then she got her hand on her knee. And that type of stuff is like, I don't like to be in a predicament where somebody already got a head start on me. And that's just like the advocate in myself because I didn't really have the parents to, you know, one, advocate for me or just like, you know, play that helicopter parent where they're going to be like, no, my child needs to be here. My mom was sick. So she wasn't the parent that was coming to the PTA meetings and going up
Right.
to the school and seeing what's going on with my child. And innately that gave me like this extra roar in my life. It's like, nah, you're not about to trick me or bamboozle me or get a one up on me. I always want an even playing field. And so that's what bothered me the most about Shiloh because I felt like she had a head start. And so I'm a Taurus, so my horns kind of came out. I was like, I'm very competitive. So that really bothered me.
Yeah, that's one of the ones they said they looked like you was rattled. I didn't think you was rattled. I think you were more so frustrated at the fact that, you know, I'm first of all, I'm blindsided. I think it's just me and you. And then you're booed up and bunned up, and it seemed like I'm the third wheel. I'm not getting no questions. I ain't getting
Like she the wife and I'm the babysitter that he's having an affair with or something. That's what it was like. It was like she was the wife and I was just the side chick or something. I was like, girl, like that type of stuff, that really annoyed me. So yeah.
So how, at that point, how close were you and Phil when this date transpired? How close were you and Phil at this point for him to introduce you to his friend?
That was actually his ex-girlfriend.
His ex-girlfriend. That's right, ex-girlfriend. It's like ex-girlfriend.
And I would say numerically, just as an analogy, I would say if Shiloh and him had a 10 connection, Phil and I probably had an 8. I would say Shiloh had a stronger connection with Phil, but it's kind of like that slow down the stretch. I was coming on Shiloh's ass at that point, you know? And I feel like even Phil started to see that a little bit. It kind of was like the reasons why I was attracted to Phil turned out to be, I think personally, the reasons why Phil ended up attracted to me. I didn't do much. I was just kind of that girl that people were kind of wondering about. And I was like, my strategy wasn't really out there. I think Shiloh was very affectionate and and her claim to fame was already out there. She was like, this is who I want, this is who I like, and that was evident. But I was kind of like sneaking up, like, hey girl, it's me. How are you doing? You know, and so I think that was very interesting, but I definitely was on her. I was on her ass.
You was coming.
I was coming for her. Yeah. I was definitely for her, but like definitely Phil and I had kind of made a few strides that I think kind of maybe took her by surprise a little bit.
You know, do you think some of the other men were intimidated because of your strong personality, because of who you are? And now I want to say personality. I want to say your confidence, because I believe it's not personality. You have confidence about who you are, and you're not ashamed of that or apologetic. Do you think some of the other cast or some of the men were intimidated?
I don't think even I don't know. I really struggle with that because I really feel like I am a feminine woman and just
You are.
very delicate. So I didn't really feel like I was like confident I didn't even feel that confident, honestly, or outspoken or anything. I feel like there were a lot of moving parts, and those things just kind of, the chips fell where they may, type of thing. Because even now we hang out, and I think even now a couple of the guys are like, "Oh, Tisia, oh, okay, that's you, girl." And I think that it's like you don't get to know people's personality. My hair is let down now. I'm out with my friend. I'm drinking. Having a good time. And I think they're starting to see me in a different light. But for me, I was like, I was always that person. Y'all slept. On me.
That's all it was.
I was always that person. Like, what was y'all looking? So anybody that knows me, even my friends to this day that have watched the show, was like, "Yo, that's exactly you in real life." I was the same person. So the fact that I'm getting new visibility or new eyes on me, I was like, bruh, I was that same person 2, 3, 4 months ago on the show. So yeah, I don't know if they were intimidated, by me. I haven't quite heard that per se, but I also think that, have you ever seen the meme that said, anybody that dates a woman from New York is, like, it's just a different type of man,
Right.
And that's just me. That's why I grew up in the hood of Chicago. So it's kind of like the southern version of New York, So we just a different type of woman. Either you like it or you don't.
Yeah. I think it's just like you said before, you called it low hanging fruit. It was just, it might have just been easier dealing with someone or getting to know the other women. Like you said, not taking as much effort.
And a part of that was just the general structure of the game per se, or the show. It wasn't that like those women were easier or less of anything. It's just like the way that like they were easier. It would have taken more time to like come to me than did some of the other girls, So I think I have a couple more balls up that just for the sake of time, you should move on to somebody.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It was I'm sure it was the structure of the show. I love it, the process. So we talked about Phil, we've talked about Frank, and Corey.
Let's get to Corey. Let's get to talking about Corey. Part 2, you felt like you was the third, fourth, or either fifth wheel when it came to Corey.
Okay, so you broke up that whole sentence. Can you repeat it again? I don't know, breaking up a lot.
Yeah, you're breaking. Let's see who fix that.
I'm breaking up also.
Yeah, it seems like your screen is stuck on your end. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Oh, you still like a little bit.
Yeah, definitely some other issues.
I got you better there when you came back in.
Okay.
You move now.
Okay, I can hear you. I feel like as soon as you start talking again, it sounds like it's chopping up a lot.
Yeah, that's what we're getting on.
That's what we're getting all right as well. That was pretty clear. And,
okay, I think I heard exactly what you said.
All right, let's see if we can get you to come back out and come back in, and then we'll see if we can finish it from there.
Okay. Thank you, Doris.
Yeah, let's see. All right. Like yours better now. Let's see. Yeah. Still. Yeah. We'll get you back into the studio.
Thank y'all for viewing and comments. Thank you so much.
Subscribe, notification. Make sure you share it with somebody else as we get to see it back in. Talk in union special part 2 of the relationship, like back in now and see how things pan out here. All right. Hey, there we go. Got you back in town.
Is it now?
Yeah, it's still. I'm having a little bit of. See if this. I have a pretty strong signal. I'm not sure if it's my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But everything. Yeah.
What was that?
No, I was saying that my signal was pretty strong, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's much better now. You're good to go now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we good. I'll talk to you a little bit about Corey. You know, on part 2 of the reunion, we see that there was not going to say issue, conversation with you and Corey, and then you felt like you were the 4th, 5th, or maybe 6th wheel. How was you and Corey's relationship after the show, or even the show? He didn't really answer the question that was posed to him. Like, where you guys at?
Corey never answered the question that was posed to him. So the time when Courtney got those notes around the pool or whatever, similar brand, proposal, I guess, for me, and he had also done the same for me. Those things were captured. And so there was definitely like a triangle that was happening. He was saying he liked Courtney, he liked me, he liked me. Did y'all want to meet his parents? I was his dark horse, I think he really wanted to make it to him, and that when he's back, honestly. At the end of the show, he kind of made some comments, kind of like, "Okay, you trying to do this? You know, if you ride with me, I'm a ride with you," type of thing. And so it just was, disingenuous. And Corey Corey is an interesting person. I'm just gonna say that Corey is interesting. He has a streamlined thinker. I don't do well with like gray area or like loosey goosey comments. And Corey would say something like, in our date, where I told him that he needed to do better. He was basically, almost in the bottom. He was at the bottom, but he wasn't getting sent home. He said something to me like, if whoever makes the most money pays all the bills and you stack the other person's paycheck. And so I was like, okay, so if you make $125,000 and I make $115,000, you want me to pay all the bills? He's like, yeah, or you're gonna pay all the bills, because he was at the $125,000. He's like, yeah, and we just stack the other salary. And I just told him, I'm not paying all bills for any man, my mama, my sister, anybody. And it's just like he has these wide frame theories, but it doesn't logically make sense. I argue it's like, you're not making any sense. Why, just because I make more than you, I'm responsible for all of the bills, and then we're gonna stack one check? And I feel like with all these Instagram memes, just social media, and it's saving and couple or whatever, just all this makes it so. I feel like he has very poorly.
Yeah, I think some wild visions of what he was doing. and then also his acting skills with the tears. What did you feel about Corey crying on stage? You know, it's not genuine, but coming off on TV, it didn't look right.
You know, one thing I felt like is to actually see people. And one thing about me is that even when something looks like a joke or just a bad act that you're putting on, I really am able to see people. And I think that there was actually something heartfelt in that moment with Corey, wrapped up in some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
feel.
right.
It was like genuine rap is a bull crap, because Corey talks about his mom and dad's relationship a lot. I think they've been married for over like 40 years, 20 some years, something honorable, okay? And they have been married for a very long time. And Corey takes pride in having he basically does all the nice things from his mom for his mom and says to his dad. And that's how he wants to make a woman feel. And he says that those gifts and those little things that his mom thinks is coming from his dad, he's actually the mastermind behind it. And so I think the way that he showed up for us was exactly that. He wants to make a woman feel like how he's able to put that smile on his mom's face and get her that husband her son doing it. And so I heard him in that. It was just terrible execution, and you can't play every side of the fence doing stuff like that. So again, I just think it was terrible execution, but I actually think he genuinely has a soft spot for showing up for people and making them feel special.
Nice. So let me backtrack just a little bit. So he wasn't just leaving notes for Courtney as we saw on TV. He was leaving notes for you and Momeen as well at the pool party.
Yeah, so I didn't have notes, but what he did for Momeen, he actually, I'm not sure I should say this, but he actually, like, Momeen is an artist, you know, a gospel artist. So I think he like choreographed a video to one of
Yes.
her singles or something like that. And for me, Corey got if you look at the trailer of the show where we're all at in our swimming suits at the pool, Corey was eliminated at the time that we filmed that, but he got a dozen roses delivered to that house that we filmed that scene. And each rose has a note on it that says basically 12 reasons why you're ready to love. And I am a flower snob. I know an expensive arrangement when I see one, and Corey bought a beautiful arrangement for me, and he had a person deliver them to that house, and each rose had a beautifully handwritten like tag on it that says reasons why I'm ready for love, my smile, my personality. And it was very, you know, was very thoughtful. And so all three of us had something. And this was when Corey was eliminated already, when I got that delivery of roses. So that was another thing. Like, Corey, tell the truth. Why aren't you telling the truth, Corey? I've been waiting for you to tell the whole truth. Stop Xing me out this story. You heavily pursued me. You requested dates with producers, and the same thoughtful things that you did for Courtney that got put on the show and on camera, you did the same thing for me. So why are you acting like I don't exist? That was my thing with Corey.
Yeah, and you know, we noticed that. I went back and watched even at the pool party when Sean and Sydney came out. It was Corey standing between you and Momeen, arms around both of you guys at the same time in the pool. If you go back, viewers, go back and watch that scene. You'll see that Tasia's on the right hand side, Momeen's on the left, Corey's in the middle. He has his arm wrapped around both you guys in an affectionate type way, knowing that seemed like there was something there between you guys. And he could not come clean about the attraction to you. And then on the reunion, he said he was telling everybody that Tisia was the one.
And when I tell you that at the pool party when Sydney and Sean were introduced, Corey served me like I was the Queen of Sheba, okay? The Queen of Wakanda. He was like, you want a hot dog? It's fresh off the grill. What you want on it? Just mustard? Okay, I got you. You want a soda or you want some water? I mean, that man was so attentive. And so I'm like, why are you making me look crazy, Corey? You pursued me. And I'm not trying to be funny. And I mean this in the most kind way. Out of all the men that I could have revealed had pursued me, Corey was not the one, okay? Because everybody had already made a buffoonery of Corey. They was like, what is wrong with this man? He is crazy. So I feel like anybody should know that if I revealed that Corey, out of all men, was on my bumper, I had to be telling the truth, because that wasn't the man that I wanted to say was on my bumper. I had made a joke out of Corey already. So, I mean, clearly I'm telling the truth if I'm telling the world that Corey, out of all people, is my secret dark lover of the show, okay? Because
right.
had all type of memes, Twitter attacks. Everybody was like, Corey is a clown. So why would I lie about Corey? Corey, you pursued me, and you need to tell these people the truth.
Right.
right. And you know, one thing I think you said that was key. You like, I don't revisit relationships. Is that 100% true? You don't.
No, baby, ain't a man on this earth could say they had me back. I don't want nothing in the past. Everything is in my future. And I've actually dated some great men, but it's just something about, why would I be with an old fling? Something that expired, that didn't work out. And there's a lot of women that think that, wow, maybe it's different this time. Maybe that was 5 years ago. We mature. We're in a different place. I feel like out of all the fish in the sea, I'm swimming forward, not back. That's just me. So yeah, no, I do not. You cannot spin the block on me at all.
We know that it had been a long day, and go back to reunion part 1, a long day, and part 2 we saw you actually walk off the stage, and there was a lot going on. And I think it came up that your mom would say, how's your mother now? And what emotionally was going on that day to make you say, you know what, this is ghetto. I can't take this.
You know, I still grapple with my choice of words, because I am a scholar of the diaspora. Like, I study Black people in the diaspora and history with all my college dollars. So I really grapple with my choice of words. But honestly, y'all, that was the only thing that flew out of my mouth at that moment. My mom had been in the hospital for over 30 days at the time of the reunion. And I've shared this a little bit of this before, but you know, my father died at 47 just from a simple asthma attack. I was in Ghana. He dropped me off at the airport, and I flew to Ghana. It was my first international trip. When I got to Ghana, my college sweetheart emailed me telling me my father had died. So when I got back from Ghana, I was there maybe 2 days, flew back home. My father was already in the casket.
Oh my God.
Already. I'm like, I just saw you. So one thing about, I don't play about my mama. You know, I don't play about my parents' health per se. You know, my father died, like I said, at 47, and he just had a simple asthma attack, something that he had many a times. We would just give him his asthma pump, give him a breathing treatment, and he would be fine. But he didn't come out of the asthma attack this time. He died right in the house in my mother's arms, you know. And so it weighed heavily on me, because I was away from home. I developed generalized anxiety, because I felt like if he could just die, anything could happen to me. So I don't think I ever shared this with anybody. I developed generalized anxiety. When I would come in my house, I would have to turn on every light, because I felt like somebody could rob me. Somebody was there to kill me. Somebody could rape me. When I would get in my car, I would look in my back seats to see. I just felt like if my father died of an asthma attack, anything could happen to me. So it gave me this heightened paranoia that I was going to get hit by a car, that something was going to happen to me. And so, you know, being away from my mom, because all of my family is there in Chicago, her being sick is like, are you just waiting for that call because something happened to her? And so to be there, and I couldn't visit her. A lot of people wrote me, if your mom was in the hospital, why you show up? First of all, it's called a contract. It's called a contract that you are contractually it's contractually binded. That's number one. Number two was COVID, and my mom could not receive any visitors. My mom ate cold hospital food on Thanksgiving. So, and that was because they wouldn't even let us drop the food off at the door and walk away, so that was the whole thing. So yes, I said all that to say is that I was extremely overwhelmed. I just felt guilty for being away. She was just sick. My mom is a 4'11" little bitty old woman, and she is a warrior. She survived breast cancer, diabetes, hypertension, all the things you could think of. And so I just have this extra, vigilance that like something's going to happen to her and I'm away, which is what happened to my dad. So it was just a lot of stress and I was so overwhelmed. People like, oh, you trying to steal a moment. There was only one way off that stage. If I could have cut out the back, I would have cut off the back. And I was actually hoping that the host would just let me walk. I was at the end of that stage. What's wrong, Tisia? And I'm like, damn. I just really thought I was going to make a clean exit and nobody would say anything. But she kind of caught me right at the end. And then here come the cameras chasing me, chasing me. So yeah, I'm so grateful to my castmates that came to console me, but it was just a lot. Y'all saw maybe 3 to 5 minutes of the bickering. That was hours. It was hours of back and forth, rehashing things that happened on episode 3, 4, 5, and so I'm like, wow, all of these beautiful Black people in a rainbow of different colors, highly educated, doing well for themselves. And this is what we're up here doing. So I just was, disappointed and just shocked that we were using the platform at that moment to talk about those things. I'm like, we had the most couples to finish the show to date. Talk about the man you left with, okay? We should be talking about this person going back and forth. Talk about the love that you have right now, And so I think I was a little naive to think that it would be like this happy moment when just history tells us that the reunion shows of any reality series is a showdown. You look at Housewives of Atlanta, any is really like a showdown. And I guess I didn't know that the drama was that deep. I'm like, y'all, we still talking about this?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I know you left off the show a little bit. Did you know that the drama was that deep? Did you feel any tension, and do you get along with everyone that's on the show?
Yeah, I wasn't naive to the drama. Oh, I knew about the drama. We all had a front row seat to the drama. So this wasn't things that were happening to people in solitude. We knew about the drama. But I felt like the show was called Ready to Love, and the people that were arguing all had a man next to them. I kid you not.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Sydney had a man next to her. Zadia had a man next to her. Aisha had a man next to her. And Camille had a man next to her. What y'all arguing about?
You got your love.
You got a man that loves you, that cares about you, right there next to you. And it's not to take away that they didn't experience traumatizing moments, real things that hurt them, or beef or arguing or anything, but literally the women that were arguing had a man next to them. And I'm just like, y'all, this can't be real life. I think I just wanted us to talk more about love and happiness and where we were. Like, what are the updates on every cast member? Aisha and Dante are adorable in real life.
Yeah.
They are a real thing, y'all. If anybody ever doubted their relationship, it's real. It's really real. God placed them together. They are the sweetest thing. So I just, Aisha, hold your head up high, girl. Don't be sitting here arguing with people that, don't matter to nothing that you got going on. Sydney, those type of things, her and Phil, they're working it out. They're a great item. They're a cute couple, So I guess, I don't know, maybe I just didn't understand it, but I just wanted us to talk about the good things that were happening in everybody's lives. So
yeah. I think what you said is so true, because you get to the end of the season, and then that's what happens at a reunion. You might be past that point, know, and then you got to go back and rehash it. And so all those emotions, all those feelings start stirred up, and it's like, God, dog, I don't want to talk about this.
Right.
I thought y'all had to apologize to each other, you know.
But the reunion is to clear up those moments. And again, because I wasn't a part of those moments, I don't want to take away the fact that if that had been me in those situations, that I wouldn't want to clear them up too.
Right.
But 2-3 hours worth of it is a little excessive.
Yeah.
That's a little excessive. It's like, okay, clear up that's not what happened. The camera didn't show this. This isn't what happened. And then let's talk about better things. So I think that was really why I was so overwhelmed. I didn't expect to be in the crossfire of all of that for so long. It was a long time.
Definitely a long time. But there was a scene during deliberation. And the deliberation, got a little heated because you brought up the Cornelius name. And then you and Zadia had an exchange. That was what we saw. There was an exchange between you. And then on your vignette, you don't want to see 102. What was that exchange over? Or was that editing there that made it seem that there was a tiff between? That was the heated deliberation where Cornelius's name was at the bottom.
Yeah, I think that in that moment, that was about me asking people to shrink down. How is it basically the 7th week out of 10 weeks and y'all still got 2 people? It's like, all right, is anybody gonna start? And, even production was like, can y'all share an on-camera kiss? Are y'all gonna start choosing people and picking? So they told us as well that we were the latest season to date to start matching. It took us a bit longer than any other season to start matching. And so, she kind of was like, I'm gonna wait. I can do what I want to do. And if I ain't picked nobody yet, then that's on me. You can't make me pick. And I was just like, girl, we wasting time. Part of us trying to see where our connections is, and y'all over here with 2-3 people, So I think that a lot of the deliberations had kind of been like a bulldoze session where people just kind of was getting a little slick at the mouth, and I was like, okay, now don't let these dimples fool you. I am very nice, but I will get Chicago on you real quick. So that was kind of like a fed up moment. Like, sis, you on 100, I'm on 102. Like, don't do that, because I was genuinely just asking, are we gonna start narrowing things down now? And a hit dog gonna holler, and she was one of the ones that had 2-3 people, And so I was just like, come on now, like, let's narrow this down. And I think that, she definitely felt that I was including her in that comment, which I was. And yeah, that was just a whole moment. So that's what that was about.
I think at a point you should start narrowing down. You should start stringing a list, especially 6-7 weeks in. You only have so much time that we're filming your list. You should know at this point who's in your top 2-1 or whatever case may be, who you're trying to deal with. I think sometimes people don't want to hear it at that time. It, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, it's about having your man, whether you get him because you both get eliminated or whether you get him on the show. If you come there for find love, then you come there to find love.
Right. And hell, even I forgot about Sabrina. Even Sabrina, although she didn't choose him in the end, she made it to the end with a man. So that was 5 of the girls
right
on stage that technically ended with somebody. And those were all the people that were arguing. All 5 of those girls were arguing. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe when love and a relationship is in the mix, things get a little bit more heightened, because I was just kind of friend zoned and didn't have that. Maybe that's why I was just so overwhelmed. But again, I don't want to take away from like those feelings, but I definitely think it lasted longer than it should have.
Yeah. You brought up Sabrina and Walt as we get ready to wrap this up. Were you surprised that they didn't stay together?
No, not at all. I wasn't surprised. And honestly, yeah, no, I wasn't surprised by that. And I think that's because Sabrina and I were pretty close. And I know Sabrina, she's very big on loyalty. Very big on loyalty. And to Walter not calling her, or I think she spoke about it, and he himself also that, you know, there was a situation with another cast member, and Sabrina kind of asked him about it, and he said he didn't know, but come to find out he did know.
Yeah.
That type of thing. She's like, so you willing to keep her secret over telling me? That was like bottom line for her, you know? And so I wasn't surprised at all that that was like, you know, everybody has their thing. Similarly to like the kid thing with Sean, that loyalty piece for Sabrina was a very big thing. She felt like, you willing to keep her secret over sharing something with me, you know? And so that was baseline. That was baseline for her, along with a couple other things. But I think that those things are like the core of her foundation, you know? So that was a big thing for her. So I wasn't surprised at all.
The couples that made it, were you surprised? You mentioned Dante and Aisha. You knew, you know, you said everybody saw their connection. You know,
they're lovely. They're lovely.
Yeah,
they are cute. They're cute.
They're definitely cute together. You know, when you saw the connection, were you like, okay, I can see this? And shocked by the Momin and Frank situation.
Forgot about Momin and Frank. Forgot about that. And they was arguing too. Damn, everybody left with a man was arguing. Literally. Okay, you want to argue, get a man. Okay, that's I just thought about that. Damn, yeah, Frank and Momin. Child. Momin deserved better than that. That's just the truth of the shit. She deserved far better than that. And I think that Frank didn't know how to pull out earlier in the game. Yeah. I don't really think he had the strength to just say like, this is not exactly, you know, what I want. And it came out. It came out that that just wasn't what he wanted to do. But Momin, she didn't deserve that at all. That was actually, you know, unfortunate to see. But yeah.
Definitely.
So as we wrap up, we want to know, where is Tisia's love life now?
You know, so many people call me talking about, oh, you waxed and waxed. I did not even remember saying that. I didn't remember that twirl. I remember eating. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't.
You twirl. You twirl. You let everybody know you twirl.
Yes, Lord.
You know what? That also was like, Corey, don't try to play me. He was trying to make it seem like nobody wanted me and nobody was for marriage partner. And I just, baby, I am in high demand. Okay, that's what that twirl was about.
You want all this almond goodness.
Nobody was for your approach. Anywho, but honestly, I'm just happily dating. I'm just happily dating. I ain't crying over nobody's son. I am just happy in a great place, and I'm just dating. I'm just dating a few people, actually.
Anybody from the show?
No, nobody. Again, if you slept on me, keep pressing the snooze button. Nobody from the show. Nobody from the show.
All right.
I've heard that I've been viral. Somebody said that I for our last watch party of the reunion, there was a video circulating of Walter, and I was like, you all snuggled up on Walter. I was like, child, we was watching a live together, and we were both sharing earplugs. So he had one ear and I had the other ear, which is why I was so close in proximity.
Okay.
And so, yes, that was a whole thing. Nothing's happening there.
Got you. You know, share a little bit about your business. Go ahead and promote your business a little bit. Anybody who's watching who runs a daycare or have a home daycare, give them, how can they reach you, and the name of the business, and how they can connect your company. And again, let me remind people, you are the CEO and founder of the company. So you're doing some boss stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate you allow me to do a shout out. So I have a business called Clear with the E at the end. So and it's Get Clear on Instagram. And it's a compliance software for home and center daycare owners. So it allows them to upload all of their documents to a cloud software, eliminating the paper documents, and also streamlines their licensing inspection process. And so we're currently gearing up to run a pilot here in the DMV area. And so long story will be basically allowing the government to acquire our product because I want to be bought out. So I'm hoping that the government will buy the system and the software, and I can take my millions and go on to another passion. But yes, that is exactly what I'm doing. So if you know anybody that is a daycare owner, even like a babysitter or a nanny, we'll also be having a version of the product that's for them also. And so again, it's Get Clear with the E on the end on Instagram.
All right.
Hey, make sure y'all do that if you're in a daycare or know someone who's running a daycare, or
we absolutely
we know several people, but if you know anybody who's running a daycare,
yes.
Please connect them with Tisia. So how can they connect you? Connect with you? Can you give the website, phone number, anything else?
Yeah, so it's getclear.com, www.getclear.com, Get Clear on Instagram. And then my personal Instagram is Tisia XVS, which are my initials. So Tisia, Tisia, X as in xylophone, V as in Victor, S as in Sam. That's my Instagram. And also I'm going to be starting I have a perfume page, and it's called Bitch You Smell Good. That's on Instagram. And I literally have all of my perfumes here. I'm going to be doing some unboxings of all of my new favorite perfumes. And if you are a girl's girl, and even guys too that love cologne and perfume, I'm going to be teaching how to smell good on a budget, how to layer your scents, how to know your undertone, find your scent and perfume, and all of those other fun things. So that's that.
No problem. Definitely, we'll put all that information in the description of the show notes of the show, so people can reach out to you and connect with you as well. 2 more questions, and we promise we're done. One, would you do reality TV again?
It would not be in the love department. If I did reality TV, I don't think it would be for love. Hopefully it could be something else. Maybe it could be like business owners, CEOs, kind of how like they're doing the ladies who list of Atlanta.
Yeah.
It could be like boss ladies of the DMV or something, or CEOs of the DMV. So nothing got to do with dating. I think I'm definitely off that train. But anything else spotlighting other things that I like and enjoy, I think I will be interested in that. Yeah.
Final question before we get out of here. Season 2 was on a resort. Do you think your season would have been much better if you guys were all in one place and wasn't able to go back and forth?
No, I think that the space helped us. I don't know. Yeah. You saw what happened at that house?
Yeah, right.
I wasn't at the house, but you saw what happened at that house. So I think the space was a good thing. Yeah, I think the space was a good thing. Yeah.
Hey, just want to make sure we always ask that question to make sure that was the only season where they actually was at a resort, and the rest of you guys were other seasons were able to be at home, still work a little bit, even though it's taxing and have a balanced life, but they were on a resort. So that's something we always ask all the people. Tisia, want to tell you thank you for joining us.
Yes.
For taking time out of your busy schedule to answer questions for us. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. And again, please, ladies and gentlemen, try out go to a website. Get Clear.
Yes, Get Clear.
Get Clear. The description, all the information will be in our description notes. Hey, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we hopefully you find love that you're looking for later on in life.
Not later on.
No, not later on. Now, so you can find love now, so you can have those babies that you want.
Yes, soon. My mama waiting too. She is waiting. She said I got a year or two. And she gonna be in the Stella getting her groove back department, and she not gonna be in grandma mode. So before my mama tap out on me. So.
Hey, once again, thanks for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification. And once again, make sure if you have not seen all the episodes of Radio Love, go back and check it out. DVR is on their own network as well. So we just want to tell you thank you, Tisia. And ladies and gentlemen, we out. Get ready to have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
y'all.
Bye.